Hi there, this is Melissa Klein, and I'm here to talk to you about shading. This is the apple that I used, and I drew it from real life, but this is a picture of it in all of its glory. And just walking you through the process of how I go about these. A lot of times people don't realize when you look at a drawing that's actually kind of very hyper realistic or extremely realistic, they don't realize that a lot of times it starts out looking just like this, like really loose and sketchy. I'm almost embarrassed to be showing you this because I'm like, oh. But what I'm doing is very quickly laying in things. Also, notice how the ellipses of the plate behind the apple, like I'm kind of drawing through the apple rather than trying to do the plate coming through. And then I decide, oh, I hate this, and I erase them entirely. Now what I'm doing is what I would call toning. And you'll see a lot of times, like, I will do something, I'm like, oh my God, and then I'll hit the undo. And in some ways I find working digitally, there's less control. I want to add here, like, if I was doing this with a regular pencil, it would be no different for me. I would be working pretty much the same. The main advantage is that true confessions with digital, you can erase easier, or that, can really, whereas paper kind of has this wear and tear. Okay, now here I'm going in, I'm doing a very soft fuzzy line where the stem is, and then I'm making a very hard line where the apple is in front of the stem. So I'm using that to create depth. And part of it is just that's the way it is. The other thing I'm doing is the strokes of my pencil, I'm trying to follow kind of the form of the apple itself. So, kind of that almost like this whirlpool effect of going into the stem, but then blossoming out around the form. And I used to do a fair amount of sculpture and worked with foundries and stuff like that. And a lot of times when I'm doing a drawing like this, I'm actually thinking about the back of the thing as much as I am about the front of the thing, which just helps to give, whether that's a head or an apple or, gosh, you name it. I'm really thinking about it in 3D. And if I have an opportunity, especially, this is part of why I love working live, is I'll walk around the thing, or I'll turn it around, or I'll imagine my hands on the thing. Kind of have to be careful with that if you're using a nude model, but I think in some ways that's how you get the form, and hopefully in a non-creepy way. And now I'm just thinking about texture, and I'm laying in just this sort of almost a dapple-y type of effect here. And notice that on one side I'm kind of outlining it a little bit sharper on the right side. On the left side I'm kind of letting it just be a little bit softer edge and not as defined, and letting it go. If I put a hard edge all the way around it, it would not pop as much. It would start to look kind of flat, because the hard edge would kind of be pushing everything forward. And here I'm starting to think about the highlights. I try to not do the highlights too early in the game. Part of it's because it's kind of like my reward for doing all of the shading and stuff. But it's also because highlights can kind of throw you off a little bit. And they tend to draw the eye over to them. And here I'm just kind of lightening up the left side of it. I'm really thinking about how it's, I'm outlining a little bit, because when I drew this, actually, it was in a slightly different light than when I did the photograph. And there was more dark on the right side and more light on the left side. Sorry, guys. So in case, but that said, like, you can also do things with the lighting and decide, like, you know what? I think the lighting would look cooler on one side versus the other. And even though, for what in real life it's doing that, you can kind of change it. I do want to encourage you, if you're just starting out, do consider, like, just trying to do what's right in front of you before kind of going down that path. Now I'm laying in the ellipses of the plate, and I'm like trying to forget what I did before, because I was just like, and I'm also changing it a lot. I tell people, don't be a slave to your photograph. And now here's where I'm really looking at the lights within the shadows, and I'm working relatively light. One of the biggest mistakes people make with shadows is they tend to make the shadows like super hard and super dark. They're like, shadow, dark, hard. It's like, no, 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 no. Think of that phrase of, she was just a shadow of her former self. I feel like that should be in a southern accent. And, shadows are always lighter in terms of their weight or volume than the thing itself. I got that from my professor, Susan Leides. I like to mention who I learned from. So I'm trying to make the shadow of the apple not be as solid or dark as the apple itself, because it's a shadow. It's just a shadow. We're all just shadows. No. We're all solid apples. And and then just really, this is where I'm really trying to stretch out. Think about the value exercise that you hopefully did first, the warm-up. This is where I'm really trying to find, many, many, many shades of gray. I'm sorry, I can't help myself. I'm going to say 50 Shades of Grey. No. We're just looking for 8 or 9, which is quite a lot. Actually, 50 Shades would be amazing, but not I've never read the book or seen the movie, by the way, which probably comes as a surprise to you guys. But frankly, I hear it's horrible. So, but I do like to make fun of it. At any rate, let me know if you've seen it. Maybe on a Friday happy hour, that could be our, maybe not. I don't know. And here I'm going back into the top of the apple and just kind of really thinking about how that, like, the skin is flowing out from the stem, and just doing lots of like subtle back and forth. And a lot of times when I do these drawings, again, whether it's digitally or with traditional pencil, I'm using my eraser a lot to blend things. And that's, a lot of times people only think of the eraser as, completely taking it out, and it's actually a really good blender. And here I'm starting to kind of create, lately I've been into what I call the vignette effect, where, you kind of darken the corners, kind of like Instagram, and you can put the vignette filter on it. I'm just waiting for one of you guys to be like, oh God, that's so out of style now. But I like it because it kind of focuses things in, and that's actually a pretty old technique. You see that in goes way back in art history through that. So it's just a way of sort of spotlighting the thing itself, and just looking for shadows within there. One thing I've really noticed about this is that because of the light, of the reflected light on the plate, that it kind of creates this really floaty feeling for the apple. And I feel like it's just floating just a millimeter or two above the surface of the plate. And it's not, it was sitting there. But I liked that. I felt like that would kind of pop it forward. And so I'm like, yeah, I like a little bit of the surreal effect in that. So I, just thank you for watching this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do. I always get so excited with your work, and seeing how people learn and grow. And I will see you on Zoom. Excited.